My name is Daniel Barnes, and I operate Barnes Detailing. And over the last 4 years, I've detailed over 700 vehicles and everything from Rolls Royce, Maserati, Mercedes to the more everyday things, your Toyota, Honda. And I've done dozens of ceramic coatings. And by the end of this video, what I'm hoping to give to you is the ability, the gift to be able to make $100 a day detailing. And this is the new way to start a mobile detailing business in 2026. And this started for me because earlier this week, I was talking with a client and I was doing a ceramic coating on his vehicle. And we were having this conversation. And I went, man, the first time I made $1,000 in a day, my mind changed. What I thought was possible changed. And the reason why I'm making this is I want to be able to give you the gift of not even doing $1,000 in a day, but just doing $100 in a day. Because I believe if you're 16 or 18 and going, I want to start a business, but everyone's doing all this online stuff, and I want to do something real with my hands where I can see the before and after. That's more how I'm wired. That's why I'm making this video because I didn't know that this was possible, and I wished that I would have. And I learned so many things from watching YouTube. And so I want to give this gift to you so that way if you're starting, if you're 15, 16, 18, 22 in college wanting to do something extra and make $100 in a day, this is a way to do it. And yeah, so that's the overview of what I'm going to give to you. And so this first section is really all about the origin of how this started for me. So the way I started my mobile detailing business was I was going to be graduating from college and I had about 6 months left. And I had always wanted to have an income producing business before I graduated college. I didn't want to have to get a job unless I absolutely had to. And 4 months before that, I had been in this mini MBA course. And inside of this, there's this guy named Mark Randall, and he sold his company to Adobe for $400 million. And so when he spoke, I paid attention. And he said this line that I've just never forgotten. And it's this: every idea is a bad idea until it's been tested in the marketplace. And then about 4 months later, I'm with my dad in Southern California. I'd driven my car down there. We washed it and clayed it. And my car, it changed colors. It went from this like weird silvery bronze color to silver. And I loved this car so much more after having done that. I went, wow, I had this amazing experience. I wonder, would anyone pay me anything to have a similar experience? And so when I came back up here to Northern California, I went, how would I test this? If every idea is a bad idea until it's been tested in the marketplace, then I need to test this. And so I came back up here, knocked on 30 doors, got 28 no's. It was on Father's Day. It was the worst day to try to test something. But then something incredible happened. Out of those 30 doors, 28 people said no, but 2 said yes. And so that was the beginning for me. And this was how little faith I had. I didn't even go and buy products beforehand. I literally went and knocked doors with nothing really to back it up except for the, hey, I'm going to go test and see if anyone will pay me for this. And then when people say yes, I'll then go and buy stuff because I was booking for the next Saturday. And so I did that, and that was the beginning. And then there was a specific marketing plan. I'll get into that in a little bit. But about 9 months into my business, I hit this real low point. I'm graduated from college. I'm about 9 months into my business, and I'm starting to realize that I'm pretty good at the business side of detailing, but I'm not actually that good at the actual detailing side of detailing. And you kind of need to be good at both. And so what I did though is I decided to invest an entire month's worth of revenue into a course that was in person to learn how to detail better. And this felt incredibly risky. I remember being on the verge of going, I'm just going to quit this business. Like, I'm not that good at it. This isn't what I'm cut out for. And then I decided to invest in this space. And two things happened for me from spending that money to learn this skill. Number one, over the next 6 months, I made 5 times more than I invested to be there that one day. So there was a real tangible return on investment from that course. But the second thing it did for me that I didn't expect was it gave me the ability to shift my mindset where I all of a sudden was around people where the minimum was to be making between 75 to $100 per working hour in my business. That completely blew my mind. I didn't realize that that was what was required. Now, part of that is being more efficient on my part, but the other piece of it is charging more and specifically learning the skill of doing ceramic coatings and how much of a higher revenue top end there is for doing a higher end service. And so it was really at this event where that completely shifted. And yeah, that really comes back to learning that skill, and then a few months later I got the chance to ceramic coat a 57 Bel Air. And I remember being done with this like 12-hour day. I had spent the whole day washing, coating, and then doing the interior of this beautiful 57 Bel Air that meant so much to this man. And it was a connection for him to his dad. And I remember the total being $1,200. And then he Zelled me, and he Zelled me $1,400. And I remember my mind just being blown that in one day, I could make that much money. And it just was incredible to me at the time. And a part of why I'm making this video is because there for a long time, I never would have thought that was possible. And I hope to show you as I walk through the rest of this that it is possible, and how to actually do this if you're going, Daniel, I have nothing right now. How can I don't think I can even do 1,000 necessarily, but maybe I could do 100. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm wanting to start us off at. So if you're getting started, here's how to get started with your first 30 days. So here's what you're going to need to do. And here's exactly what I did. I went to O'Reilly's, just a normal auto parts store, and I literally got a bucket and soap. Those were it was a bucket, soap, and the the other things that you'll need is you'll need access to water at the client's home. You'll need access to a client's outlet. The other two things, um, the other few things that I would recommend, especially at the beginning, I'm trying to keep the costs as minimal as possible because I know that for you spending even $100 or $200, that's a lot of money, and so I want to be thoughtful of that. And so if you get the bucket and soap from O'Reilly's, um, in the beginning, use like borrow your family's vacuum if you can. That's what I did with my very first detail. I didn't even buy a dedicated, and actually, a lot of clients will have a shop vac. So you can even ask if they have a shop vac on hand that you can use. And then some basics that would be really, really smart to invest in is PNS has an express interior cleaner. and I would recommend doing that. It's about 19 bucks. And then there's PNS Paint Prep, and this works really well as a glass cleaner. And then you can start off with Dynamic, which is a tire dressing, and then just get the small bottles to begin with. You don't need the gallons to begin with. That's going to be way more expensive down the line. You'll want to do that, but in the beginning, the smaller things are good. And then the other thing is you want to get a pack of microfibers from Sam's Club or Costco, ideally. Or if you don't have either of those memberships, you can just get them from Walmart. And those will work really, really well in the beginning. And then there's a few things that you'll want from Home Depot. You're going to want an extension cord, ideally at least 75 feet. And then you'll need a splitter, meaning so that way you can plug in more than one appliance at a time. And then you'll also want to get a hose. There's these great little hoses from Home Depot that I've been using for my entire time. They're retractable, so they get smaller over time as well. And then you'll also either want to get knee pads or a cheap stool off of Amazon. And so that's really what you'll need to get started. And then over time, one of the things that you will want to get when you can is a pressure washer and then your own 5-gallon vacuum. Now, I did both of these off of Facebook Marketplace. I found a used vacuum that normally would have been, it was like 80 or $100, but I got it for 20. And then I got a pressure washer that normally been 150 for 100. So that's another thing, is if you use Facebook Marketplace or some other platform like that to find used versions of these things, a lot of times you can find them at a fraction of the cost. And in the beginning, when you're just getting started, you really just need enough to get started. You don't have to have everything. You don't have to have a van and a massively expensive setup. At least that's not how I did it. And the other thing is, if you're going, man, I need to set up an LLC and I need to have a business bank account, I need to have a trailer or a van and business cards and a website and professional photos. No, you don't. It's great if you do, but what you really need is you need a client and you need a car that someone needs detailed. That's what you need. And here's the danger of getting ready to get ready. You can watch all the YouTube videos and go, now I know exactly which chemicals I'm going to get. And you can be waiting for that perfect setup that you want to get everything dialed in. And you can keep studying instead of practicing. And the other thing is, it's also wise, don't compare where you're at right now to where I'm at 4 years later. If you wanna compare, go back to my Instagram and go to the very first vehicles I detailed. If you wanna compare yourself something that's at least somewhat apples to apples, compare yourself to where I was when I was just getting started, not where I am today. And here's one principle that will serve you in this business and really in a lot of other ones, which is simply this: that you just need one more solution than you have problems. So if you don't have a vacuum, go, can I borrow one? Can I buy one for super cheap on Facebook Marketplace? You need water, detail at people's homes where they already have water access. And if you're not good enough yet, hey, you're just new at this and you need more volume, you need more practice. And if you don't know how to price yet, start with 100% discount, AKA free. Most people, if you say, hey, I'll do this for free, the only thing I need in exchange is a written and video testimonial. I'll just shoot it right now, right after the detail. That's all I need for payment. And that's the strategy: is your first 5 details, you do this for free. When I started at $45 for an interior and an exterior, but I think I would have been even better served to start for free because I would have gotten more reps faster. And here's why this is genius. This removes the pressure of they had to pay for it. You also get to learn, and people are way more forgiving when you're either free or really inexpensive. And this is a great way to build your experience really, really fast. And this also gives you incredible testimonials of if each of those 5 that you do for free, you ask for a written testimonial and a video testimonial, now all of a sudden you have this army of marketing material behind you as you're just getting started. And here's the one thing that I will tell you, I've got I think 73 now 5-star reviews on Google and almost 700 vehicles that I've detailed. So if you understand the ratio there, it's challenging to get people to actually leave the reviews. And here's the thing, ask them to do it right then and either leave the review or text it to you right away or make the video. That really matters because if someone says, I'll do it later, they probably won't. And the other thing is to you can also have them just write out the text and send it to you right away. Some will follow through later, but most won't. And if you're just getting started, you can send this to friends or family members if you feel comfortable doing that. For me, a part of why I started off with going and knocking on doors is because I didn't even want to tell the people that were close to me in my life that I was doing this because I didn't know if I wanted to do this yet. And so if you're going to text people, you can say something like this. You can say, "Hey, I'm building my detailing business and I'm doing my first few details at 100% off. The only thing I need in exchange, aka free, the only thing I need in exchange for me providing this service is a video and a written testimonial at the end of this service." Does that seem reasonable? And here's why this works. It sets expectations up front. If they already agreed to it, they're just way more likely to follow through. And the other thing is if they're standing there and they've experienced this great car and it's beautiful and you've done a good job, then they'll want to help you. And here's who to choose. Really, the most important thing is to let all of the people that know that you're doing this, and you wanna start off with those first 5 being free, and then you'll slowly increase your price. But after these first 5 details, you'll have 5 written testimonials, 5 video testimonials, and before and afters of each of the cars. And what you can do is after the first 5, you can start to charge. So you can start with $49 a car, or you can start at $99 after that. And here's the beautiful thing. If you start at either for what I did, I started at $45 for an interior and an exterior. That was about 4 years ago. It's probably the equivalent of starting at around 59 or 69 in today's money. And if you start there, if you do 1 car in the evening or 2 or 3 cars on a Saturday to make 150 or $200 on a Saturday is not unreasonable, but it's doing the work to give yourself the skills ahead of time and investing all that time where you're doing it for free and you're not good and it may be really hot outside. Um, like all of that matters. And so what I did to begin with, I only detailed on Saturdays. I had a Monday through Friday internship during the summer where I started this business, and so Monday through Friday I was busy. But on Saturdays I would detail, and I would start it off with detailing between I did between 3 and 6 vehicles every single Saturday for the rest of that summer, and I would make more money in that Saturday than I did for the entire week at my Monday through Friday. And I remember one time I did 5 cars in one day and I made $500 on a Saturday and my mind was blown. It was incredible. I just didn't know that was possible. And that first month that I started detailing, I made $1,500 in revenue that first month. And I started reinvesting that into tools and different things. But to have something that really only had a few $100s worth of startup costs to then have $1,500 come in. And yes, it was a lot of work. But working in general is a lot of work. I'd rather work for myself and build a skill that has value that's transferable. And so that was kind of how it worked to be able to make $100 in a day, or at least $400 or $500 over the course of a week. And if you do this right, to make an extra $1,000 over the course of a month, if you do 2 cars every Saturday for 4 or 5 Saturdays, you could be at $1,000 in a month pretty easily. And so now I'm going to give you, over the next roughly 10 minutes, a overview of how I detail a car now and how you can do it with the tools that you have. Anytime that you're going to do an exterior, I'm always going to start with the wheels. Now, if you have the pressure washer already, you're going to start with the pressure washer, and you're basically just going to start with the wheels and pressure wash the wheels off. If you are now at the point where you've invested in a wheel cleaner, you want to go ahead and spray that on all of the wheels, and then you want to let that dwell for about a minute. Now, if the wheel is in direct sunlight, you want to give it more time, or no, you want to give it less time, because wheel cleaners in direct sunlight, you actually have to be careful of that. So that's something to know, is that that can over time eat into the paint, or eat into the rim. And so you want to be careful and thoughtful of that. So let it dwell for about a minute, and then you want to use a brush and start on the actual wheel itself, the outside, and then do the rim on the inside. You want to use two different brushes for that. And then the reason why we start with the wheels first, they're almost always the dirtiest. And so you want to start with the wheels because the wheels are what touch the ground, and the ground is the dirtiest part of the whole car. So start with that. And it means that after you're done cleaning everything else, if you then went and did the wheels, then you'd be getting that dirt all over the clean paint. It just doesn't make sense. Start with the wheels first. And then after that, you're going to do either the foam bath or the contact wash. So if you have a foam cannon, now would be the time where you're going to foam up the entire car. The other thing is, if you don't have this, you're just going to pressure wash the entire outside, get as much of the bugs and the dirt off of the front of the vehicle, the lower rocker panels on the sides or the side skirts, and then the rear right underneath the wheels. Those tend to be the spots where there's the most dirt. So you want to start with those first. And then you'll have bought some sort of either a wash mitt, or if you have those microfibers, you can also use the microfibers in a bucket with soap. That's a great way to do it if you're just starting off and you don't have a foam cannon. Although there's a foam cannon on Amazon that's like $20. That's what I use. You can spend 80 or 100, but there's no real difference in my opinion. Just get the $20 one on Amazon. And the other thing is, you want to wash from the top to the bottom. So if you're using a microfiber, one of the things is to rotate the microfiber around so you've got a fresh side every time you go to a new panel. I like to start with the windshield and the hood, and then the top, and then do basically the windows over and the sides, but not doing the very bottom side skirts, because those are almost always the dirtiest. I try to leave the very bottom areas until the very end, because they're almost always going to be the dirtiest, and you don't want to clean at the very bottom and then drag that all over the rest of the car, because you have the potential to scratch it. Um, so you want to work in sections and don't let the soap dry, especially if it's in direct sunlight. You do have to move quickly. Um, but so again, you started at that top point after you've gone all the way around the vehicle. Um, Again, usually for me, it ends up being front windshield, hood, fender, the sides and the roof on that side, and then the side of the car, the door and the other door, and then the rear glass, the trunk, and then I'll do the bottom of the trunk, the side skirts, and then the bottom of the front of the car. That's usually how I end up doing it. And then the next step, if I'm doing a premium, this isn't going to apply to you right now, but for later on when you offer a wash and clay process, you can get a clay reset towel and you can then refoam the car and then you can clay it. And oh my goodness, claying, I think it's the most satisfying part of detailing. It makes such a difference. Um, and it's really, you basically just rewash the entire car but with a different mitt, and there's some sonic things. I can make a dedicated video to that at some point in the future if that would be helpful. Feel free to just leave that in the comments or DM me on Instagram if you want me to do that. And you're going to use either soap or bead maker or some other lubricant on the clay towel, as you'd go all the way around the entire vehicle. And then after that, you're going to do a final rinse. Basically, just pressure wash all the soap, all the stuff off of it. And then after that, you're gonna dry it off with a microfiber. In the beginning, you're not going to have this, but eventually, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to buy a leaf blower. You can get them from Home Depot, and they're a few $100s, but they will speed up your drying process significantly. So you don't need it in the beginning. I wouldn't recommend it as the first thing. The better thing would be to buy a vacuum and then actually use the exhaust from the vacuum as the leaf blower. That's the smarter way to do it in the beginning, but you do want to do that. And the other thing is, as you're doing the final rinse, you also want to make sure that you get into the door jambs, the gas caps, and the back around the trunk. And so after all of that is dried, then you're going to want to add bead maker, which is basically going to add, well, depends. If you don't have any sort of if you're just doing a basic wash, you'll just dry it and that'll be fine. But the other thing is, if like what I do is I will use some sort of an express wax. There's Meguiar's, which has an express wax, which if you're in direct sunlight and high heat, I use that. If it's cooler temperatures, like right now, I'm using bead maker. I use that until usually about April or May in Sacramento. It gets really, really hot to the point where bead maker actually doesn't work anymore the way it's supposed to, in my experience. And so I actually switch products once it gets too hot. But that's a really important thing. It just adds this pop to the paint. And so in the beginning, you can just dry it off. And for most people, it will look really good. But if you have some sort of a spray wax or sealant, add that. It's a small thing, but it looks really good. And the other thing is, if you come back and detail that car again in the future, it will actually be way easier to do that second time because you added that little bit of protection. So that entire exterior is probably about 2 hours. Maybe it's closer to 90 minutes. And that's basically what I've done. And I think the first 2.5 months, I think I detailed 75 cars. And that was primarily doing Saturdays. And then I did Fridays and Saturdays for a little bit. Okay, so that's the entire exterior process, broken down as simply as I could with the basic tools that we had at the beginning. Here's the basic interior. So again, if you don't have anything crazy, you only have the vacuum from your parents' home essentially, or from your own home. What you're going to do is you're going to ask the client to remove their personal items. And if they just say, "Hey, I'm just going to leave the stuff in the glove box in the center console," just leave that and don't worry about those sections or inside of that as much. But what you're going to want to do is, again, this is assuming you only have your vacuum, you've got an interior cleaner, and then you've got the tire dressing. And that's basically all you have. So, and maybe a glass cleaner. So, understanding that you only have those few tools at your disposal, what you're going to start with is just wiping everything down with the chemical and the microfiber. So, you're going to start at the center console, then do the driver's area, then the driver's door, do the rear passenger, the driver's side rear door, the front and back of the seats, the center console, and then work your way back to the trunk, do the sides, do the other side, the rear passenger door, seats, front and back, and then do the front. So you're going to wipe all of that down with your microfiber and the PNS interior cleaner. And then, um, so that's going to be the beginning of that wipe down. And then what you're going to do after that is you're going to take your glass cleaner and you're going to clean the inside glass with a microfiber and the glass cleaner. And you're again going to start. For me, I actually really most prefer to sit on the passenger seat. And what I will actually do is I will orient my body, like if this is where the steering wheel is, I will look at this direction so that way I can get this angle with my arm and actually clean the inside glass. So I'll start there and then I'll do the passenger glass, the rear glass, basically go all the way around the vehicle back to the beginning. The two other things that you want to make sure that you do are the mirrors that swing down and the rear view mirror, and then you want to do any screens that are on the inside. If you're doing a Tesla actually has a screen clean mode on the inside of for their glass. So you want to go ahead and use that as well. And then the other thing, so and then after you've done that wipe down, you'll then want to vacuum everything. And so this starts again, I love to start at the driver's area. And one thing that I missed in the beginning that I hope to save you from missing is making sure that when you're vacuuming, you start off by moving all the seats all the way forward and all the way back. So, what does that mean? So, as you're vacuuming, if you're starting in the driver's area, first begin by moving the seat all the way back. So, the seat's all the way back, and then you vacuum in the crevice by the front dash. You do all the floor area, you do underneath the seat, then you do the part that's closest to the door, and then what you're going to do is you're actually going to move the seat all the way forward so that way when you go around back and you're in the rear seat, you can then go underneath that front seat, vacuum inside the cup holders, any of the seat areas, and you're just going to work your way all the way around the car again, making sure that you can move seats forward and move them back. That's really important to not miss underneath the seats. And then you'll also do the trunk. And so again, driver's area, then right behind the driver, then trunk, then passenger rear. And you'll want to vacuum inside of the door cards as well, because sometimes dirt can get stuck in there. And then do the front, and that's going to be pretty much everything. So that's going to be what you're going to do there, where you wipe everything down, clean the glass, do the vacuum, and then the last thing is, since you already have the tire dressing, you're actually going to use the tire dressing on all the door jambs, meaning that if there's any black plastics or gray plastics or whatever colored plastics, you're actually going to use that as a way to make them look really, really good. And so that's a small thing, but all the like seals around the doors that are black, if those are blacker, it makes everything pop. And so that's that's the way that you do that. And then let's see. Mm, So that's the first half and then all of that. The other things that I had wanted to share was really the how do I let's see, I'm going back to my notes here because I've got another section. I know I've got the the booking section and the books. So you're now we've kind of already covered the origin story. We've talked through the things that you'll need to get started. So what are the products that you actually really need? And then we've also covered now how to actually do both the interior and the exterior detail and which things to buy and where from. And then the next thing that I'd wanted to talk with you through, uh, I'm just going to my notes to make sure that I don't miss any of the things that are important. Um, well, I can just talk you through the 5 books that I think you should listen to while you're detailing. Because if you're smart about this, this isn't just a detailing business, but it's actually an education business where you use the time to learn and grow, and it will actually change you. So let me just make sure there's nothing else that I'm missing first. Mm. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, so now you know what to buy, you know how to do the first details. Now, the next thing that you'll really need to know how to do is how to get your first paid clients, which is actually the same process as getting your free clients. Which for me, the process, this is a mobile detailing business, Lynn. Thanks for your question. That's the business that I operate. And um, so, really, the first thing that you're going to want to do after you do your first 5 that are totally free is then you're going to want to start charging. And again, because my assumption here is that you're only going to be doing this on Saturdays, whether you have a normal job Monday through Friday or you're going to school Monday through Friday, that those are the next thing. So you're going to want to start charging. And my recommendation is start at either $49, $79, or $99, somewhere in that range to begin with. That will get you to about $1,000 a month pretty quickly. And man, there's something that unlocks for your brain if you go, man, I can make $100 in a day. It's a pretty incredible thing the first time that it happens for you. You realize you don't necessarily have to work for someone else to do that. It's pretty incredible. So we walked you through all of that. The other thing, as you're doing the detailing, I guess one of the other things that's really important that I've started doing more and more is making sure that as I'm physically detailing, I'm also aware of people that are walking up to me. And so um I have air fresheners that have my logo on it. And so I'm really diligent about every time someone walks by, I go, "Hey, do you want a free air freshener?" Now, why would I do that? Because it starts a conversation and then they'll ask like, "Oh, are you" when I was first starting off, I just had a normal I think I had a Mazda Protege when I was first starting. So it didn't even look like I could have lived there for all they knew. They had no idea that this was a business. And so for me starting that conversation, then I would let them know, "Oh, I have this detailing business. If you ever need someone to come and take care of one of your cars, like, I can absolutely do that." And the other thing that I did pretty early on that I honestly wished I would have done faster is as I was doing those first few cars, I eventually made videos of my detailing process that I went through. And by documenting that, once I had that built, what I would do is I would say, "Hey, I've got a 15 or 20-second video that shows either my interior or my exterior detailing process. If I sent that to you, would you check it out?" And most of them would say, "Yeah, I'll check that out." I go, "Great. What's the best number to reach you by?" Now, why would I do that instead of just going, here's a business card or here's a whatever? It's because if you give someone a business card, they're just going to throw it away and they're probably not going to call you. But if you get their phone number and then you can text them, you can call them, you can ask them to take a look at your business, you have a way better shot at that. So that's a part of why you do that way. So that's something that's a way that every time I'm actually detailing on site, I increase the number of clients and number of potential new clients that I have. So I'm very proactive about asking everyone who walks by, do you want a free air freshener? Or if they engage in conversation, I will send them a video as a preference much higher than simply giving them a card or the air freshener, because I know that I am way more incentivized to reach out to them than they are to me. And so that's another piece of it. The other thing, like you're just getting started. Now you've got the 5 clients and you're doing that. That probably takes you 2 weekends to get to 5 clients. Um, and then you've went out and bought the stuff from Home Depot, you found some of the stuff from Facebook Marketplace, and now the next thing that you would want to do is the next thing that I did anyway was I just started letting people who were in my life know that I was doing this. And so my process was just to text 3 to 5 people every single day about my detailing business. And this was I wouldn't just text them. I looked at my email, my Instagram, my LinkedIn, uh, Twitter if you use that, my contacts. I actually added it all up and I didn't realize it at the time, but I had this tremendous advantage, which was I had 5,515 contacts when I started. And honestly, I still have never made it through more than maybe 1,000 of those contacts, even though I'm almost 4 years in at this point. And so the message though that I started with right at the beginning was I just went, hey, I'm starting this mobile detailing business. Normally something like this would cost $249, but because I'm just getting started, I'm doing a huge discount, and instead it's just $49 or $99 depending on what price. I'd honestly, for your first 5 clients after the first 5 that are free, I'd recommend doing 49, and then the next round of 5 do 79, and the next round of 5 do 99, and just ratchet up from there. Remember, you can always raise your prices. It's harder once you've raised them to go back down. It just doesn't hit the same. So I would start 0, 49, 79, 99. And that would be for the interior and the exterior. And so that gets you that would be your first 20 clients if you do it that way. And again, what I did was I would just make sure that I sent at least 5 of those texts every single day, or 5 emails, or 5 DMs on Instagram with that offer saying, "Hey, I'm just starting this mobile detailing business, and normally it would be this much. Instead, because I'm just getting started and this is a friends and family discount, you'll be able to get in for this. I have this date available. Would you like me to come by and take care of your car?" In fact, even better, you can not even ask them directly, and you can say, "Hey, this probably isn't for you. I'm just starting this mobile detailing business. Would you happen to know just one person who you think would need this service?" And then you're not even asking them directly. You're just asking for a referral. And then if they say, "Hey, actually, I'm interested," then that's an even better way to do it. So that would really be the better way to do that. So then you're doing that. You're sending those 5 messages every day. Because you've done those first few, you also have captured the testimonials, you have the before and afters, and that makes a big difference to have that ammunition of going, I've got the before and afters, I've got all these 5 stars from Google, which that's the other thing is if you can set up a Google page, that's a really small thing, but that is very helpful. It's actually like it's just tied to any Gmail. It's pretty easy to set up. So that would be the very beginning. If you do that, that's the first 20 cars. And then if you charge um what I'm recommending, then it's 49 times 5, which is 245, and then 79 times 5, 395, 99 times 5, 495. So what is that? 249 plus 385 plus 495. So if you do that and you do that for the first 20 cars, you'll have made, I don't know if you can see that, $1,129. So that's if you do 5 cars for free, 5 cars at $49, 5 at $79, and 5 at $99. And so you'll have detailed a total of 20 cars and have made a little over $1,000. And so that's if you wanted to make $1,000 in a month detailing, that is the way to do it. Now, the other thing that I would strongly recommend is not to just listen to music while you're detailing. One of the best things that I ever did was continue to learn and grow as I was detailing. And I'm going to share with you 6 books that I would recommend be the first 6 that you start listening to while you're detailing. Because the beautiful thing is, you have all this time while you're working on this car. And so here are the 5 books. The first one is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. This is a book that I've listened to every single year for the last 13 years since I was 18. 11 years. I'm 29. So, yeah, 11 years, but I've listened to it at least once every single year, sometimes more than once. And it really teaches you how to get along with people, and that is actually the most important skill that you can develop. And so if you use this time while you're making money detailing and learning this skill, but you're also learning how to become better with people, it's a huge unlock. Please go and read and understand that book. It's really important. And the next one is Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. This will teach you even more about tactical empathy and how to understand people who are different from you, how to get along with people. That book, I've listened to that book probably 5 or 6 times, and it's fascinating to hear how he learned, and you need to listen to that book. And then the next one, so How to Win Friends and Influence People, Never Split the Difference. The third one is Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Guidara. That is such a good book. Um, Other than the Bible, that book was probably one of the few. I think that's the only book where I've had almost like a spiritual experience listening to it. It was so good. It talked about basically creating these incredibly memorable moments for your clients. It's called Creating a Legend, where it's the story that people will tell to other people about how amazing something that you did for them was. And I think if the world could create more legends and more of these legendary stories and moments, man, it would be a better place. And so I love that story and that book in particular. So those are the first 3, and then the next 2 are going to be $100 million Offers by Alex Hermosi, and then $100 million Leads by Alex Hermosi, and then also $100 million Money Models. I think in your case, the first of those 3 you should listen to is $100 million Leads, because you're going to have the problem of nobody knows who you are, and you're going to need people to know who you are. And so that's why you should start with that. And the other thing is the first 5 framework that I talked about, that's all from Alex Hermosi. That's where I'm getting that from. And it works super well. So those are the 5 books. And then I actually have my own book, which is called Just Start. So if you want to check that book out, you can also do that. So that's an honorable mention of the books that you should be listening to while you're reading, and you can just get them on Audible, and listen to them there. Okay. So now, what we have done so far, just want to recap, and then there's a few more things that I definitely want to go over with you that that won't matter right at the very beginning, but will matter as you're continuing to grow. And so I know that there's two other things that I want to hit, which are spaces that you can join that will increase your business. And then also some of the formalization process that will happen as you do that. Um, okay, so then the next thing really is about joining the right networks. And so far, basically, what we've covered is my origin story, how to get your first 20 clients and also make your first $1,000, the equipment that you'll need. We've also covered the interior and the exterior detailing process. And then we just covered the books that you should be reading and listening to that will become essentially an education process for you. So, as you're doing that, the next thing is joining the right networks. So, this is something that I sort of did by accident, but I wished I would have done it with more intention. So, let's talk about something that really changed a lot for me. Um, and here's the truth: if you're the best detailer in the world, but nobody knows who you are, it it's not that it doesn't matter, but it matters a whole lot less. And for me, joining something called BNI made a huge difference. And BNI is a business networking group. It's actually all over the country. And most detailers, like in Sacramento, I am the only mobile detailer in all the chapters here locally. And I don't know how that is necessarily, but there just aren't any detailers in this network of business owners. And a part of it is the barrier of entry is reasonably high. It's about $1,000 or $1,400 to join for either 1 year or 2 years. I think it's $900 for 1 year and 1,400 for two. But here's the other thing. Just for reference, I in the last week have made $750 from people who I met through BNI. And so it's in within a week, it's not hard to return that investment. And so that's one thing that mattered. And the other thing is there is a specific structure to the meetings. And I guess I can make another thing specifically about the power of joining the right networks because that's a pretty fascinating thing that I didn't understand when I first started my business. But joining BNI will cause you, if you don't like in the beginning, I don't think you should start an LLC necessarily or a business bank account and do all that stuff in the very beginning. If you want to, you totally can. It's just for me, the hardest part was getting clients. And I didn't need to start with those things. I could have people pay me on Venmo or Zelle. And then over time, as things were legitimatized or more legitimate, I got better and better. And so it was actually when I joined BNI that I formed an LLC. I got the business bank accounts, got the license, all the stuff that I needed to have, I got. And that's the one amazing thing about joining a network of other business owners like this is it was also in that environment where I switched from having just a car to I had a van and my van got wrapped. And a part of that is being a part of something like BNI. a lot of the other people that are there, they are franchisees, meaning there's certain things that are imposed on them by their franchisors that they have to do. So if you're starting something from scratch, which is what I was doing, it meant that I didn't have this. You have to have these logos and your van has to be wrapped in this way. But it makes a big difference to have it down. And the other cool thing is it depends on the size, but a BNI chapter can be between 10 people to 30 people. And the the way it's set up, it's really beneficial for your business, especially if you run the system the way that they've designed it to be run, which is you're supposed to meet with at least one or two other business owners every single week. You learn to share this 30-second pitch of who you're looking for that week, and you also get to track referrals given and received, and attendance is mandatory. So it also creates this level of commitment to your own business that's actually really, really good. And so that was really good. The other thing was I ended up joining another network, which was I joined Lifetime. And I can remember this one day I'd finished detailing, and it was 17 minutes. I had been thinking about joining Lifetime for a few months, and it was 17 minutes to get to Crunch, which was one of my options where I used to work out. It was 17 minutes to go to Lifetime, which was where I wanted to work out. And it was in January. I believe it was January of 2024. Yeah, 2 years ago. And I remember being like, man, it's so expensive to go there. At the time, it was, I think, 229 a month. Now I think it's at least the Arden location is over $300 a month. I think it's 349. Um, but at the time when it was even just 229 a month, I remember being like, man, that's so expensive. Um, and I remember thinking to myself, I'm just gonna try this for 3 months. And if I don't make at least as much back from being in this space as I'm spending to be here, then I'll just let it go and go, oh well, that's okay. And what's amazing was within a few weeks, I had my first client from there. And that one client actually paid for the membership for the year. And then a few months later, I got my van and I got it wrapped. And I had someone come up to me and ask about ceramic coating one of his wife's vehicle. And that one ceramic coating was $749. And so I went, well, that just paid for the next 3 months of my membership right there. And so there's something amazing about being in these right spaces like BNI, like Lifetime, that if you're in these spaces where people want great service and are okay with paying these higher prices, then all of a sudden you end up being in a much better place. And then so that's the thing about joining the right networks. The other thing that I have done as well is it has allowed me to not just join in-person networks, which both BNI and Lifetime are in-person local, but it's also allowed me to join online networks that are developing skills. So at the beginning of 2025, I joined something called The Arena, which is an online mastermind all around communication, leadership, and it's really a space for big ideas. And there was just a call earlier today. And what's been incredible about this business is how it has funded my education. That for me, I love learning, but I need to be able to apply what I learn quickly. And so for me, being a part of the arena, I was getting more and more chances to speak and to share. And I wanted to become a master of this skill. And so as I was doing more and more of that, I was using what I was learning from the arena. And then in the middle of last year, I also started writing my first book. I hired a consultant to help me with that. That was someone who I had met at Lifetime. And then from there, I ended up joining Alex Hermosi's mastermind. It's an online community called ACQ Scaling. And that has been an incredible experience over the last almost 6 months now. And to be a part of that and to be around a bunch of business owners, many of them doing over $1 million a year and some doing much, much more than that. But it's been amazing to see how within just 4 years, I went from zero business experience to now I'm around so many business owners, many who are doing well over $1 million a year in annual revenue. And it just kind of shows, at least for me, the power of being in the right spaces that I really didn't know was possible for me. And so really, as you're joining these networks, then especially BNI, you'll need to form an LLC, you'll need to do business bank accounts, and also do have liability insurance. Liability insurance for a detailing business is not cheap. It's about, at least what I'm paying right now for $1 million is about $750 a month, and so it's it's not the cheapest, but it also means that if something happens to a car or something happens to a property that I'm on, I'm covered up to $1 million. On the cars that I'm working on, I only have $1,000 deductible, and they will pay out up to $125,000 worth of damages. So even if I'm detailing a Rolls Royce or a McLaren or anything like that, their bumpers are still only a few $1,000s, and so all of that would be covered. And so I think that's pretty much all the major things. I talked about the network and the things there. Um, I guess the last thing that I just want to leave you with is, I guess, a little bit of vision of what this has created for me. And it may not be the same thing that you want to create ultimately. Um, but this money has enabled some pretty incredible things. Of I have gotten the chance to join the Arena, which is a communication program, and I've learned all about the seven frequencies of communication and become a certified coach in that modality. And I also have gotten the chance to travel now to 13 countries, and twice in the last 2 years, I've been able to take uh, do a 2 week missions trip and then add on a third week. And just the amount of travel that I've been able to do because I have my own business and I can just block out my calendar and prioritize the things that I want to do. Like, even see right here, I've got another 2 weeks planned for 2026. And some other fun things that are happening in other months. And it's also allowed me to join coaching programs like Alex Hermosi's group, and that was not cheap. And then also I joined the Forward event, and it was about a few $1,000s for everything. And I think the amazing thing more than anything else has just been the person that I've been able to become, where I understand what are the inputs that are required to create the outputs of the life that I actually want. And so much of it has been realizing that what I think is a lot is actually not a lot, and that there's so much more that I can do. Um, and it really has just created this higher um, a higher lid or a higher ceiling of what I think is possible. And I really have recognized that so much of this has become more about creating a media company than even specifically a detailing business. The better I get at sharing stories and sharing this process that I'm going through and leaving behind these little almost like breadcrumbs of what helped me get to where I am, that I if I can help. I mean, my goal with this video is I would love to find out that 10 guys take this, actually implement it, and make $1,000 in their first month detailing. And a part of it is if you go back to my channel 3 years, what I made a video where I made $1,500 in my first month detailing. So it's not impossible for you to make $1,000 doing this. And earlier in the video, I laid out exactly how you would do that. And yeah, I mean, it's just given me a pretty incredible life, and it's put me in rooms around people that I wouldn't have expected to be around. And when you're in those rooms and you just ask a lot of questions, um, it makes a big difference. So yeah, I think those are the main things. And I guess, yeah, I'll say this in closing. If you are a young man watching this going, I understand there's all the internet stuff and I can make all the content and in theory I can make money doing that, but I want to do something with my hands first. I just want you to know you don't need permission to start. You don't need to have all the stuff figured out. Like society will tell you you should get the degree first, you should try to get experience first, or get credentials, or wait until you're ready. Um, but you can ignore that. Like I actually did I was almost going to graduate with a degree before I started. But there's a part of me that goes, man, I could have done this at 16 or 18. And I kind of wish I would have started back then. And you just need a skill and a willingness to learn. And if you can develop this competency of the hard skill of something like detailing and also be good with people, which is why if you read through those 6 books that I talked about, you'll become much better and more skilled with people. That is the skill that just continues to compound with time. And so, if you do nothing else, please learn how to get along with people. That is a skill that will serve you for the rest of your life. So, that is really what I have. Yeah, I guess one of the last thing would probably be the systems. I think I kind of briefly covered all of the systems that I go over. Yeah, I mean, the system really in the beginning is either knocking on doors or even just sending texts to people that you know about the offer and doing a small amount of that every single day. It's simple. Simple isn't easy. And now you kind of have to ask what's stopping you? Like is it the money? Because you don't even need the money to have the first person say yes. I went out and got the first yes before I even bought anything. I didn't even believe that anyone would say yes. And if it's the 2 to $300 that you don't have to begin with, what I did when I first started, I charged $45 for the first 2 details, and I went out and spent $100 to buy the stuff that I needed. So I was basically at zero after the first detail. Now, I would recommend, I think you'll get better results doing the $0 for the first five and just using $100 that you already have, assuming that you have that or that you can scrape that together some other way. Um, but the other thing is if you're going, but I've never done this before, I don't have the skill. Hey, everyone started at zero at some point, and you don't need to be skilled to start, but you do need to start. You do get skilled by starting. Like that makes a difference. And I wasn't that good when I started, and nobody is. But by starting and starting for free or starting at a super low cost, it will help you. Like people want to see young people succeed. So if you're young and you're watching this and you're going, I don't know if I can do this, there are people who will give you a shot because you're 16 or because you're 18 or because you're 20 or 22 or because you're 25. And just know that people actually want to see young people succeed and they will give you a shot they might not give to someone else. And so take advantage of that because here's the truth: the fear doesn't go away. You can just do it anyway. You can just start. And the investment is $200 to $300 to get started. And basically a Saturday or each Saturday. So the risk is almost zero. You're out maybe $200 and a Saturday. The best case, you build a business that changes your life. So the risk to reward ratio is kind of insane. The other thing is to look around. There's cars everywhere. The market is pretty massive, especially if you're in any sort of a major city in the US. And most people don't want to clean their car themselves. That's why Quick Quack is everywhere. And they will pay someone else to do it for them. Especially if you consider that, at least in the area that I'm in, the highest level of Quick Quack is like $30. So if you're willing to come to them, detail it for free or for $49, it's still a steal because they don't have to go anywhere. And the other thing is that you don't need to be born a detailer. You just need to learn how to watch some YouTube videos like this one. You can buy some supplies, detail a car, and then repeat. And as you learn and try, you will get better. And that's it. I learned from YouTube in the beginning. Eventually, I went and did in-person trainings as well as online courses. Um, but here's exactly what you should do over the next 7 days. So go to O'Reilly's, get the bucket and soap, go to Home Depot, get the extension cord, order those PNS products, and get the microfibers. The next thing is use those things, detail your own car. If you mess up on your own car, it's your car. Like you're not going to be mad at. Just take before and after photos. You can even write yourself a review if you want to, and notice what was hard and what was easy. And the next day, if you want to, you can create an Instagram page and you can post your cars before and after and just write a simple bio such as mobile detailing in your city. And then you want to text 10 friends or family and just say something like, "Hey, it probably isn't for you, but I'm starting a mobile detailing business. Do you know anyone who needs their car detailed? I'm doing my first 5 details for free in exchange for testimonials." And then let them know that it's this upcoming Saturday that you're available. And then you schedule it, you go out and you actually do the detail, get video testimonials immediately afterwards, and just record it right there on your phone. Also, have them send you a text of their testimonial. That way, you can screenshot that as well. Take the best photos that you can. Then, afterwards, the next day, you're going to post those before and after photos. You're going to tag the client as long as you've gotten permission. And then you're going to book 4 more of those free details. And that's your first week. If you wanted to do that, I would recommend booking 2 cars that first Saturday and then 2 cars the following Saturday. I'll get you 4 and then maybe do 1 on an evening to get to that 5th one. So, I was a college graduate with no clear path to what my business was gonna be. I had had a business before, but I didn't have any special skills. It didn't seem like I had any crazy connections, even though I did actually have quite a lot of contacts and I didn't realize it at the time, but I did have a bucket and some soap and a willingness to try. And now I have a business that's doing very well. I have skills that can actually transfer into other businesses. I have a network of really amazing people that are doing really interesting things. I've had the resources to travel to 13 countries. I'm about to go to my 14th one in just about a week here. And I have the resources to be able to start my next business and the confidence to know that I can start from zero and build something. And so if I can do this, you absolutely can also. And the question isn't, can you? The question is, will you? And the quote that really started all of this is from Mark Randall. And I'm going to end it with this because this quote has been so pivotal for my life. And it's simply this. And this is the guy who sold his company to Adobe for $400 million. And I just paid attention when he spoke. He said this: every idea is a bad idea until it's been tested in the marketplace. Every idea is a bad idea until it's been tested in the marketplace. And that's where the name of my book, Just Start, came from. That's how I started my detailing business. That's how I'm starting this this podcast, talking through my detailing business. And so that's kind of the end. So we're at almost 80 minutes, and that's as much as I know as I could get through. So if you made it this far, I salute you. Thank you. The other thing is I have 2 newsletters in the description, both my personal one, which is called the Just Start newsletter, and then I have my detailing specific one, which is called the Clean Car Cult. Both of them are down below. Um, Hopefully in the description pretty soon I'll have the supply list of all the stuff that I talked about, as well as your first client script, which I'll actually just link the Alex Hermosi has a first 5 framework. I'll probably just link that. So that's really where that part came from. And then the other thing is, if you want to, you can also read Just Start, which is on Amazon, and it will be on Audible soon. And that's if you want to understand more of how I think and how I process things. And that's the exact mindset that helped me build this business. And if you want more content like this, you can go ahead and subscribe to this channel. I'm going to keep sharing more and more things. There will be more interviews and other things because I believe that action combined with community are the 2 things that make the biggest difference in your dreams going from simply ideas to reality. So, this is Daniel Barnes. That was the whole story of my detailing business, Barnes Detailing. And I want to thank you for spending the last 80 minutes with me. And I hope you go out there and make that your first $100 in a day, and that your brain is forever broken, and that this becomes the start for you. And I'm excited to see what you do with it from here. So that's all for now. Adios.